What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. My name is BC Babbles, and this is Casual Babble. So today, I wanted to talk about finding your voice, and that phrase can mean so many things this day and age. Specifically, what I want to talk about is a bit more exact, in the sense of giving you tips on how to figure out and identify the kind of voice you want. If you're going to be aiming to become a radio DJ or a podcast host or some kind of media personality in which you're definitely going to be talking a lot, and that's the basis of your career or hobby. So last episode, I mentioned that radio was a very late blooming passion of mine. I had no clue that going into college, I'd come out of college with this massive love for broadcast radio and talking live and engaging to an entire community, a town, a city, an audience. But of course I did. Now, because I was so late in the game, I had to learn a lot of quick quibs and tricks kind of quickly so that I could have learned enough and done enough by the time I graduated and I was like sort of useful. So going into radio, when you're brand new to the idea of such a field as a possible career choice, a lot of up and budding personalities think that when they hit the mic, they have to sound like what they believe a radio DJ sounds like. So again, I went to App State, and the on-campus radio station there is 90.5 WASU, which is an alternative rock station. So because of that format, I thought that when I went on air to represent the station, its staff, the campus, the school, and the people of Boone, I had to properly sound like a rock DJ. So out of nowhere and with no practice, I would go onto the mic with this crazy, stereotypical rock jock thing, basically. Me trying to sound like some Wolfman Jack Wile E. Coyote BS. So imagine me going onto a radio station. If you were like an avid listener to 90.5 and you're used to the typical staff members on air, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere on a random day, you hear this. 90.5 WASU, I'm Brandon here to rock it out with you for the 2 o'clock hour on this amazingly sunny Tuesday. That's how I thought I had to sound. Because again, the format for the station was rock, so I thought you've got to sound rocky. You've got to sound edgy and kind of nasally. And like all you do all day when you're not at work is go to motocross competitions and hang out in your friend's tattoo shop and do all this other crazy stuff that I don't do. Not that I wouldn't mind doing any of those things. I miss it very much, but I don't do that. But yeah, it's a common misconception that you have to create an unnatural personality to make yourself sound as though you fit in with the format or the groove of whatever platform you're trying to become a part of. But that, I would eventually learn, is not the case. So I didn't learn this quickly, and it took me a lot longer than I would have liked it to take. But one of the things that made me realize that what I was doing wasn't a good idea was my voice. So you heard the crazy sound I made, and I would be doing that sound for a couple months because, again, I'm in this headspace of a brand new radio DJ, and I got to do what I think is proper. Baby barf. And I would just kind of get lost in it. But eventually, because I was consistently creating this unnatural, unhealthy sound with my voice, I would notice that progressively, after each and every next shift on air, my voice would be sore. And not like a good sore, like I had a really good singing technique and I was at a concert hall performing for the arts and I was just tired. No, this was like a please stop it kind of fatigue. It wasn't a good fatigue. And because, again, I was not making a natural sound. So when I realized this, I had to step back and be like, well, okay, If I'm not supposed to sound like a rock DJ on a rock station, well then what am I supposed to do? Because obviously my voice is not jiving with this sound, but I have to have a sound, otherwise what am I doing here? And it would take maybe a couple weeks and me shadowing my other friends who were also DJs on the station and just kind of watching what they do. And I gotta be honest, at first it didn't dawn on me. This really, really simple answer that was right there the entire time went right over my head. And the simplest answer to figuring out your voice is be you. No matter what the format of the station, no matter if it's rock or top 40 or oldies or country, the only thing you got to do to create the best sound for you as a DJ on the radio, as a host of a podcast or some other media personality is to sound like you. I realized that all I had to do was take some time out of class to talk to myself a bit, pay attention to how I spoke to friends, and learn what my natural pace, style, vocabulary, speech was. And that's the key. All I had to do was talk like Brandon, talk like BC Babbles. What does BC Babbles sound like? Well, BC Babbles sounds like this sometimes. I'm not to say that your voice only has one sound, because once you figure out your natural tone, your natural speed, your natural pacing, and your style of articulation, once you figure that out, well, then you can expand. And then you can start delving into proper character development, where you go from your kind of most arrested middle range to maybe a low range. You want to sound wispy and sexy, and from there go higher and be happier and be animated and be really excited about something. But it all starts with finding that base natural sound. This is me. This is my voice. This is Brandon BC Babbles. This is my sound. From here, and remaining calm and collected and making sure to breathe, I'm not trying to, it is a performance to a degree, but it's not like me on stage at Carnegie Hall or the Met trying to perform a 4-act opera, right? So it's really just you being you. That's the real key to sounding like an awesome personality, is simply showing your audience what your personality is. So if you happen to be a student at App State and you want to go onto the radio station there, onto WASU, and it's a rock station, and you think you've got to be super edgy or super or whatever you think you have to do, that's not what you have to do. Be you. That is the total key. Ask anyone who works there. Anyone who works there. Ask the GM if and when he's there, because he's hardly ever there. But if he's there, ask him, and he'll tell you. They'll tell you. Just sound what you sound like. And once you've identified that natural sound that you have, again, that's when you can broaden your repertoire of styles and character. If you want to do some character type stuff, do it. But make sure you're always using your proper natural space as the origin point. Don't necessarily go somewhere random out here that's so far outside of where your voice is really meant to go that it hurts. Like I said, my voice started to hurt, and that's how I knew something had to be changed. Because if I kept going, I probably ended up sounding super hoarse and like crap, like I've been smoking 5 packs a day since I was 2. Thankfully, that's not the case. But it was such a simple answer. And I'm happy that it dawned on me long ago when it did. And sometimes you'll lose it. Just because you find it the first time, you're not going to necessarily have it as second nature from that point on. You'll lose it every now and then. That's natural. Sometimes you miss your pace for a second, or you forget to take the proper breath before a phrase, or you allow yourself to get too excited about a conversation, and as a result you start speaking a lot faster than you intend to, and you trip over your words. And trust me, honest to God, episode 2 or 3 of Casual Babble, I had recorded one whole show already. But because I allowed myself to be too excited, I spoke way too fast, I tripped over words, I did not like my lack of articulation or my pacing, and I scrapped the whole thing, and I recorded it one more time. That time, what I recorded ended up being like twice as long, like 28 minutes of stuff, but it's not going to be perfect for a while. But one of the keys that helps you stay in that calm space so that you can always exhibit that natural personality that you have is just remember that when you're doing this or something like it, that's your space. That is your area, your air, your time. You're not on anyone else's schedule. You're just there to be you. And that's what's going to draw in the audience. You being you. That is the total secret to sounding like a great personality. Now, there are so many other things that go into being a great career speaker, like a politician or newscast anchor or a radio DJ or a podcast host. But like, it's important to know, say, the voice itself, the mechanisms that create the voice, what's involved, proper vocal care, always a plus, knowing what to and what not to drink or consume prior to a show recording or performance. Also, what kind of practices to have off the mic that keep your voice in a constant, healthy, awake, exercised place so that when you have to speak, you're going to be fine and sound good. So many other things to talk about. And I'm hoping to bring those to you very soon. I'd love a chance to bring on some friends of mine. I'm going to call them after this recording and see if they want to hang out. And hopefully the next episode will be about not only my points on finding your media voice, but also their points. And we can compare notes and have a much better discussion about the voice, because the voice is a whole thing. The voice is a whole thing. And if you're going into this typical area of hobby or career, it's important to hear as many tips as you can. And remember, the key is always being yourself. Don't be anybody else. No one's here for it. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Casual Babble. I cannot wait to give you a new episode, and I will see you next time. Have a great day.